Hey guys, um, welcome to the fourth video. Thanks for following my journey through Nest and how I went learning about creating mobile applications without learning any code or knowing any code. And just to clarify to you guys, this is my first time creating any kind of application with any platform, anything like that. But trying to at least, creating any application with using any platform. So I don't have any previous experience using different platforms. I just chose Nest because it just seemed to have the most potential for long-term use for myself. Okay, well, let's get down to it then. So in this video, it's gonna be a pretty long video. In this video, I am going to discuss how to make the business ad page of the JOB24 sample application. And this was a very tough form to make, to say the least, because you got to realize for the JOB24 sample application, or for the JOB24 application, this is probably one of the most important forms, and at least that's what I think, because the whole function of the application, of the JOB24 application, is to connect employers and employees. And in order to make that possible, there's got to be some kind of ads being displayed by the business side, the owner side, employer side, or an ad being posted by the employees, looking for a job, and the employer trying to give jobs. Okay, so right now, as you can see, there's many labels that are being used, and I'm dragging in the data time label, and you'll see why that's going to be used later on. So in this form, we're going to be using a lot of labels and a lot of panels, because there's just going to be a lot of information, and I am saying a lot very often. I should stop that. Okay, so a lot of panels, many panels will be used, because there's just going to be information, and it needs to be organized somehow. So all of these panels need to organize different parts of the different information, and give them a what's the word? Give them a not numerical, but give them an order, so it all goes down smoothly. Like, for example, let's say you're filling out an application, you wouldn't expect why you want this job, and your little essay part before writing in your name. So creating the panels and putting in the labels into each panel helps you organize that. Okay, so you're gonna see a lot of editing as well in this video, because like in every other video that we've been on so far, all these components, they need to be edited to fit your needs, and especially in this form, even though many of the same components are being used, they won't be used in the same manner, and I don't want them, you don't want them looking the same. Let's say you're making an application and you have two labels, but you feel that one of the labels is more important than the other, then maybe you might want to make that label bigger. So you want to edit it and make it bigger. And yeah, and that's the case in this. And in this form, some of the labels I want it to stand out more. As you saw, I just put in the image component, and the image component is important in this form, because that way businesses or employees, let's say, well, we're not at the personal ad yet, so in this form, in the business ad form, the image is important because businesses might want to upload a image that makes them more noticeable, or makes so people can just quickly scroll down and view what it is and see what it is that business is, because it might be a very recognizable, that's the word, recognizable image. Okay. And this image, it can be put in any size, but you can make it as big as you want and as small as you want. But if you make it too small, then no one's gonna be able to see what the image is of. And if you make it too big, then although it's going to serve its whole function as a recognizable image, it's also going to make the form look a lot messier. So my advice, or the obvious advice I would say, is to keep the image a very standard size, not standard, but acceptable size, so it can perform its function of being something, showing its recognizable image, while also not hogging the entire page of the application. Also, the thing about the image component, as you can see, it's in a panel that's within a panel, and so one panel is being put within a panel in this case, because we want to put more into that panel. So we want to provide a space where there will be details about what the image is of. Let's say we put an image of the Golden Arches, right? And everyone knows what the Golden Arches stand for. It stands for McDonald's. But still, in the off chance, we want to put the labels on the side, so that to next of it, to show that, hey, this is a McDonald's and it's this location, and we're looking for this or something like that. If you want your important information with your image to be all together very smoothly, very connected, and not in a disconnected way. So if you want your image and your label to be very connected, then you might want to put it within a panel. Put two panels in. So one panel is holding the image to limit its size, to control its size, and the other panel, the main panel, is providing a space for labels to be put in. Okay, so I'll be titling all the labels. Like I know you've seen me titling a lot of the components, and I don't know if I've been through this already yet, but the reason I title all my components is because, number one, that's what I've noticed when I looked at the JOB24 sample application. When I was breaking it down, all the components were titled, so that I guess whoever developed it can easily tell, hey, this component is for this. Okay, so that's why I title all my components. It's like, for lack of a better word, I just like labeling all the components. So later on I know which one that is and how what order I want to put it in. And I think I've already mentioned this before, but the outline window that's located at the bottom right hand corner, the outline window is extremely convenient because it allows me to set the order of things, without moving it around too much on the main screen. I can just move it around in the outline window really quickly. It's a smaller window than the main UI window, so I can just switch things around and experiment and all that stuff. And once again, we'll be using a style class. And style class, I was able to obtain the style class in making this application because the JOB24 sample application folder had the folder of style classes, and so I just took that and then put it in my new projects. My new project folder, so I would have access to those style classes, and that you can see me doing that in the first video. If you pay close attention, I go through it pretty fast. Okay, so yeah, you can see me putting in a footer right now, and a footer and header are important in forms especially like this, because you want everything, because there's so much information that's being put out, you want everything to be connected. You want it all to, when you go from top to bottom, you want it to have a sense of that everything's belonging, because it's surrounded by the same border, or that you can obviously tell where it begins and where it ends. And another component that you haven't seen that we're using in this video is the line component, and pretty self-explanatory. It's a line. It creates that line across the form, and by no means am I degrading on that line component. Although it is a very simple component, I myself would not be able to develop that. Code for that, because number one, I don't know how to code, and number two, I probably wouldn't see the need to do it. But the fact that it's already done and there are these small components available is what makes it what really makes Nest great, because these small components, having them available, allows you to just use it constantly. And even if, let's say, I think even a developer would use it, because they don't have to code it, and they can just drag it in, and these small components are used probably very often, like with small basic functions, because they are, like I said, they're basic functions, and basic things are usually used quite often. Okay, so right now I'm choosing the style class, and you can see when I clicked on the style class, there was a huge list of stuff. And one thing I really forgot about style class is that I really find a lot of potential in having that, because let's say you have certain dimensions and certain design that you want to use, and you want to keep, and you know that you'll want to reuse in the future, or even if you don't know that you'll reuse in the future, you can just save it into a style class format, and then just keep all your style classes in one folder and just keep transferring them over from one project to the next, so that you'll have all those previously designed dimensions when you're making new applications. And just like any other form, we will be putting in events, and events, they're the functions of the application, they're the function of the form. It's going to be in every form. There's no way there won't be an event in one of the forms, because you need an event to be there in order for it to change into that form. So you need something to be receiving, you know? And events really, if it's a form without any events, then it really has no function. Okay, right now I'm putting in all the link components. The link components, what it does is it's linking from one form to another. So you can see right now I have link job view, link login, link register type. So from any of those forms, you can access the business ad form. So it's linked together. So because this is because the ad pages, business ad pages, especially if you have an employer's account, you're going to be going to that a lot because you want to see the progress on it, or you want to see how other business owners are posting their job, business posts. And so also we have Ajax component. The Ajax component is the Ajax component, like I've explained in previous videos, is important because it has a lot of the events. Ajax is a data event collector. Well, it's an event. It doesn't have a lot of events. It's a data component, and it brings in a lot of data, which makes it have a lot of events because it's bringing in data from different sources, or different types of data from one source, which is in this case, yes, it's bringing different types of data from one source, because it's going to have to bring in the business ad name, and it's going to have to bring in description and the time and all that stuff. Okay, we're at the workflow page right now, and you can see how there's the loading screen page, and loading component, and all the Ajax component, and session, and the link data component, all that stuff. And especially for this form creation, I'm going to be running a lot of simulations, because there's just a lot that can go wrong when you're creating this form, especially because there's just so many moving parts. So you want to always be saving and creating a lot of you want to always be saving and doing a lot of simulations. And I apologize if it just got really loud just now. It's because I got a little too close to the mic. I was kind of doing something else. Yeah. Anyways, as I said, there's going to be lots of editing. There's going to be lots of components involved in this form, so you want to be saving a lot, simulating even more. And the integrated simulator really shines in these kind of forms, because you can just constantly change something, you simulate it, and you do this multiple times throughout however many times you change the form, and you can just make sure every single time that your form is running correctly, it's looking the way you want it to look. And you can check out all the other application features of the application that are involved with this form and see if it's running with it correctly, and there's no huge error or bug in the application causing your form not to run. Okay, so right now we're at the label address, so that's where obviously you would put in the address for the business, and we're basically giving each label an event, because this is the same form that's going to be used for all the business ads. And in order for that to happen, you got to make sure each label and each place where all the description and text and information about the business is going to be, you got to make sure that they all have the events where they're able to withdraw the data and display it. And in order to do that, you needed to bring in the information which the Ajax is going to be bringing in. So the label is going to display the information that the Ajax will be bringing in. And you can see from this simulation that it is, so far, the labels are working correctly and it's bringing in the data that I want to see. So I'm going to continue doing that and finish off the labels that need the event to be specified. All labels, all components need their events to be specified. Okay, alright, okay, well, now what I'm going to do now is save and simulate, since I just did the last one. Like I said before, saving and simulating is very important, and you should do that as many times as you feel like you need to. And you gotta remember that every time you make a change and you want to see that in the simulator, you have to save. Otherwise, the simulator is not going to show you what you changed. It's only going to show you what from the last save. So you gotta save and then simulate in order to see on the simulator what you had changed and recently, yeah. Okay, so we'll be editing more of the panels, because so far this is just it's a very looking form. It's a very boring looking form right now, and we want to give it that little extra something. Although it's it is a very important form in this application. You still wanted to bring it all together, and you wanted to have you wanted to make it look more user friendly, or more entertaining to look at, I suppose. That's the I can use that, yeah. Okay. Also, if you haven't noticed previously, there to the left of the UI window, there's how there's a list of the Ajax view, link data, and loading, and then even to further left of that, even to the further left of that, there is your project windows, and you can see a lot of you can see your forms in there. So you can see what kind of forms and the number of forms you have, and that's also where you can see where you can also duplicate forms. So you could just copy a form and then paste it back on there, and then it should appear, and save, and it should appear on your project sitemap. It'll just basically be a duplicate of that the form that you had copied. And that's another reason to always be naming your forms, because it helps you keep track of which forms you've done and which forms you haven't done. If you don't have to look through all your forms in order for you to know that you did that form. So labeling all your components, even the forms, very big thing if you just want to be very efficient. And that's what Nest is about, right? Efficiency, even for codeless people. Yeah, efficiency even for the codeless, because the more you use it, the more efficient you're just gonna get, because you're just getting more used to how to edit. You're getting more used to what the rough estimate, what it's going to look like on the simulator and on your phone when you edit things. So efficiency, yeah. Back from my little tangent. We are adding in the back button, and like I said previously, if you haven't seen the previous videos, the back button, unlike, it's just a regular button, but it's just a button component, except that you label it as back button, and I give the same image because that's what it had on the JOB24 sample application, but also that I would most likely choose a different image for mine, but the fact that you don't have to use a backwards arrow to indicate that this button goes back, and instead you can use an X or anything that you want. I think that's great that not more people do this. You're just so used to seeing the back button, but you know that if you press X, that also means that you can also catch on. You can also catch on that if you press X in this application, it means it's back. It means to go back. Okay, so right now, I just put in the toggle button, and the toggle button, unlike the button component, the toggle button component is great in that you could set an event to it, and then toggle it on, and then toggle it off to cancel that event. While in the case of buttons, you need two buttons, one to set the event, one to get the event in motion, and then another button to stop that event if need be. And you'll see later why I put it all the way to the bottom left in the footer area. And and what's going to be there, you'll see later on in this video how this all fills up very nicely. Okay, so right now we're looking at the Ajax, and right now we have two Ajaxes. One is for Ajax view, and now this is Ajax FAV, and FAV is favorite, and that's because there's a function on this application that allows you to favorite a business post just like you would on a browser. So you can come back to it, and you need the Ajax component to be there to be able to keep that information or collect that information and deliver it so that it doesn't get lost within the user's account. Okay, so I'm putting in the session component, and I don't think I've done this in previous videos, but the session component is an extremely important component to have, and especially in applications like this, because it allows you to keep track of your users. So well, not users, but it allows you to keep track of, allows the application to keep track of which user is using which user is using the application. So applications are obviously going to have multiple users, not on all one phone, or one smart device, but multiple users around the world, hopefully, if it's a successful application. And you want these users to be able to put in their preferences, and to be able to put in their information and expect it to be there next time they log on. And you want their accounts to work with those preferences, and that's what the session component does. It allows for the components to know. It allows for the application to know which user is using the application, and so what information to provide, what information to display based on their saved preferences or their inputted preferences. Okay, so right now we're at the job the job view. Yeah, the job view component. It's the form, and this is this form is being connected to the Ajax because it needs to be able to request for the information. And the job view is obviously when you there's a list of jobs in this application, not obviously, but there's a list of jobs in this application, and when you click one, that's considered job view, and you want to go into the post, which is the business post. So we're just connecting a bunch of forms to one another, especially the business ad post, or the business ad form, I mean. Okay, and right now we're putting in the parameters, parameters of the Ajax, and that's what it's telling what where to around, like, you know, it's telling like the area to where to get the information. Okay, and we're running the simulator once again just to make sure all the events are working correctly, especially the new ones that we put in. So run simulators, save and run simulators just constantly, because you'll want to test if your events are running properly and if it's all coming along the way it should be coming along. And as you can see on this workflow window, everything was tied into the loading, and you'll see that a lot in events. A lot of the events are all tied together at one point or another, even though they're very spread apart. A lot of events are or will be tied to one another, it seems like, and it makes sense because applications, they're there to solve, they're there to provide a solution, but for that person, for that user, it's supposed to be their private tool, even though applications are meant for everybody. But they're supposed to get the feel that it is their private tool, and it's supposed to learn their preferences, it's supposed to learn all that stuff. So all the events are going to be meeting at one point because it is about one person, and that's the user at that current time. And that's why when you look at the workflow window, most of the time, even though there's like clusters of groups, they all just come together at one point. Just like you'll see if you go to the project sitemap, window, because although there's a lot of forms and they're not all directly connected, they're all connected to the main form. You can think about it that way with the whole events also. Okay, so right now I'm just rearranging things and adding buttons to the footer, or the panel in the footer, I suppose. It's a better way to explain it. And we're adding buttons here because they're going to serve a function for the application. It's going to make it very convenient, the buttons. And you got to really keep that in mind when you're making an application. You want convenience, you want quality, and you want everything to work out the way you had planned. I mean, for the events to be all working functionally. So for the event working functionally, you can constantly save and simulate, and then find out what's wrong easily through the workflow window or through your through other windows of Nest, such as the main form window, and just. But if it's an event, probably the workflow window is probably the best bet. And anyways, before I went on that tangent, so right now at the panel that's included in the footer, along with the toggle, button component, we have 3 other button components, and that's because we want to provide a shortcut so the user can easily, let's say, you easily carry out commands while they're still on the business post page. And these buttons, we're going to give them images because they're buttons and they don't really need the text, because they're going to be serving very simple functions with images that will allow anyone to be able to barely recognize what is going on. So right now we're going to use the text icon or image on the first button, and then second button, third button. It's going to have that kind of image, something that someone can understand from just looking at it, what it's supposed to do. And the button is also getting a style class or size editing, because you want to make it very particular to your own, and you want to make it special, even though it is a very common icon image. Okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so each button is basically going to get a image, and this image is going to help users quickly go do their most used tasks, such as favorite an ad post, which we will be implementing in or putting in this video. But putting the image itself, I haven't explained the whole thing about images. Okay, when you put an image in Nest, from what I've read, they say it resizes the image for you to meet the recommended requirements, but they also tell you that it's better for you to edit the image before putting it in to whichever component, because it ensures you more quality that way. If you edit it in a third-party program outside of Nest, and then you can look at the quality, and you can keep on editing it and tweak it around until the icon or the image is of a better quality, then you can put it in, and then in the recommended dimensions, and nothing will change. But if you have a image that's bigger or too small, if it's too big, the image might come out shrunken and disproportionate, because it's just resizing it and it's not really taking into consideration what's on the image itself when it's resizing it for the buttons or whatever component you put it on. And if it's too what's the word? Anyways, moving on, buttons, images, and all that stuff. You want your images to be, you want to edit them yourself and then use it in the Nest folder, or the Nest platform, I mean, so it doesn't automatically resize it and you lose some in quality. Okay guys, that will be all for this video, and like I've told you many times, or like I've said many times, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to contact me on my email. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video.